An object just crossed the void between the stars and entered the solar system, and nothing about it makes sense. Called 3I Atlas, it moves at an impossible speed, defies the laws of gravity, and releases gases where there should be no activity at all. As telescopes capture its images, the data goes wild. Abnormal reflections, inexplicable chemical emissions, behaviors that no comet or asteroid has ever shown. And as humanity tries to understand what it's seeing, one question echoes through observatories around the world. What exactly is invading our sky? Before we dive into this cosmic mystery, subscribe and hit the bell, because what comes next, you won't want to miss. On July 1st, 2025, the Atlas telescope in Chile detected a tiny point of light moving through space at a tremendous speed. Nobody expected this. The object was traveling at 58 kilometers per second, coming from a retrograde direction, meaning it was crossing the solar system in the wrong direction, as if defying the natural flow of planets and asteroids orbiting the sun. When astronomers calculated its trajectory, the shock was immediate. Its orbit was extremely hyperbolic, with an eccentricity of approximately 6.1, which means it was never bound to the sun's gravity. This object wasn't born here. It came from outside, from another star system, from a place we don't know. When data started arriving from telescopes around the world, the strangeness only increased. Images from the Canada-France-Hawaii telescope and the Very Large Telescope revealed something disturbing. A compact coma surrounding the object, a cloud of gas and dust that shouldn't exist at this distance from the sun. Regular comets only release gases when they're close enough to the sun for heat to sublimate their ice. But 3I Atlas was four astronomical units away, almost at Jupiter's orbit, where the temperature is too cold to melt anything. And yet, there it was, active, bright, releasing material as if something inside it was waking up. But what happened next left scientists in shock. Observations from the James Webb Space Telescope revealed something never seen in a comet, a chemical composition dominated by carbon dioxide in a ratio of 7.6 to 1 relative to water, one of the highest rates ever recorded. This isn't normal. Solar system comets typically have water as the main component of their gases, but 3I Atlas seemed to have been formed under radically different conditions. The presence of water ice, carbon monoxide, carbonyl sulfide, and even traces of cyanide and atomic nickel made the picture even more bizarre. It was as if the object carried with it a chemical signature from a completely alien star system, shaped by processes that never occurred here. And this is where things get really strange. As 3I Atlas approached the sun, its activity increased exponentially. In August 2025, NASA's Swift Observatory detected hydroxyl emissions in ultraviolet light, indicating the presence of water vapor being released at a rate of 40 kilograms per second. An absurdly intense activity for an object so distant from the sun. This implied that at least 8% of the comet's surface was active, a level of effervescence much higher than that observed in most solar system comets. Something was making 3I Atlas behave completely out of pattern. But what? Do you think this could be a coincidence? Comment what you think. The hypotheses began to emerge. The most accepted explanation is that 3I Atlas is indeed an ancient interstellar comet, ejected from its star system of origin billions of years ago and shaped by prolonged exposure to cosmic radiation and the chemical processes of a protoplanetary cloud different from ours. Computer models suggest it could be more than 7.6 billion years old, which would make it the oldest interstellar object ever detected. Its carbon dioxide-rich composition may indicate that it formed near the CO2 ice line in its original protoplanetary disk, a region where temperatures allowed the condensation of this gas in large quantities. But not everyone is convinced that 3I Atlas is just a comet. Astrophysicist Avi Loeb from Harvard University suggested a disturbing possibility. What if 3I Atlas wasn't a natural object? Loeb pointed out that the object's retrograde trajectory, combined with its extremely close approach to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, with a probability of only 0.005%, could indicate something deliberate. He speculated that the object could be performing a reverse solar Oberth maneuver, a highly efficient propulsion strategy that would allow an interstellar spacecraft to brake and remain bound to the Sun. Additionally, the fact that 3I Atlas will be hidden by sunlight during its perihelion on October 29, 2025, precisely when its activity will peak, raised suspicions that something could be happening far from Earth's eyes. If it were an intelligent signal, how would you react? The truth is that 3I Atlas defies all expectations. It's the largest, fastest, and possibly oldest interstellar object ever seen. Its nucleus, according to Hubble images, has an estimated diameter between 0.32 and 5.6 kilometers, although the most likely value is less than 1 kilometer. Tiny, but incredibly active. Its hyperbolic escape velocity from the solar system is 58 kilometers per second, which means it's just passing through. When it reaches perihelion on October 29, 2025, it will pass just 36 astronomical units from the Sun, inside Mars's orbit, before disappearing forever into the interstellar abyss. And the most fascinating thing of all, at the moment 3I Atlas crosses perihelion, it will be invisible to ground-based observatories, swallowed by the Sun's brightness. During this critical period, only satellites like GOES-19 and potentially spacecraft on Mars, what they discovered after changes everything. When 3I Atlas reappeared in late November 2025, after its passage through perihelion, astronomers noticed something extraordinary. The object had developed a bright tail composed primarily of carbon dioxide and water, with traces of cyanide and nickel, a composition never seen in such intensity. This anti-tail, as it was called, pointed in the opposite direction to what was expected, generating even more speculation about its true nature. The great revelation came from combined data from multiple space and ground-based observatories. The Very Large Telescope confirmed the presence of cyanide and atomic nickel in concentrations comparable to solar system comets, suggesting that despite its exotic origin, 3I Atlas shares some fundamental chemical processes with the comets we know. This indicates that planetesimal formation and the evolution of icy bodies may be universal phenomena in the Milky Way, occurring in similar ways in distant stellar systems. However, the chemical differences, especially the dominance of CO2 and the presence of complex organic compounds, suggest that conditions in 3I Atlas's star system of origin were significantly different from those that prevailed in the solar nebula that gave birth to our solar system. Leave a like if you love this kind of mystery. Spectroscopic analysis of the object revealed a reddened spectrum in the visible and near-infrared, similar to D-type asteroids and ultra-red trans-Neptunian objects, indicating the presence of complex carbonaceous materials and irradiated organic compounds. A broad absorption feature near 2.0 micrometers was identified as evidence of water ice grains in the coma, with models suggesting a mixture of 63% amorphous carbon and 37% water ice, with particles approximately 1 micrometer in size. This confirms that 3I Atlas is indeed an active comet carrying frozen water, an indication that its star system of origin also had a high water-ice mass fraction. But the story of 3I Atlas goes beyond science. The simple fact of its existence forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. The universe is much larger and more diverse than we ever imagined. The detection of only 3 interstellar objects in 8 years, 1I Oumuamua in 2017, 2I Borisov in 2019, and now 3I Atlas in 2025, suggests that millions or even billions of similar objects silently cross the solar system every year, invisible to our telescopes. It's estimated that an average star system in the Milky Way ejects about 10 quadrillion objects into interstellar space throughout its existence. This means we're literally swimming in cosmic debris from alien worlds, fragments of planets we'll never see, frozen echoes of extinct stellar systems. Subscribe to follow the unfolding of this story. Pre-discovery observations made by the TESS satellite between May and June 2025 revealed that 3I Atlas was already active months before its official detection, gradually increasing in brightness as it approached the inner solar system. This suggests that its behavior isn't erratic, but follows predictable sublimation patterns, although mysteries remain about what exactly triggered its activity at such great distances from the Sun. A possibility of non-sublimator mechanisms for dust release, such as micrometeorite impacts or rotational instabilities, was raised to explain the early activity. What makes 3I Atlas even more fascinating is the fact that it probably doesn't share a common origin with the two previous interstellar objects. Galactic models of dynamics and chemistry of protoplanetary disks indicate that 3I, 1I Oumuamua, and 2I Borisov came from completely different regions of the Milky Way, ejected from distinct stellar systems at different times. This means we're seeing samples from at least 3 different cosmic planetary factories, each with its own chemical and historical signatures. What if I told you this story isn't over yet? Space missions to intercept 3I Atlas were considered, but the window of opportunity was extremely narrow. Calculations showed that a spacecraft launched from Earth after the discovery would require a velocity change of more than 24 kilometers per second, a technological feat impossible with current propulsion systems. On the other hand, spacecraft on Mars during July to September 2025 could have performed a flyby with a velocity change of only 5 kilometers per second, a much more viable goal. Unfortunately, no active mission on Mars had sufficient propulsion capability to perform this maneuver, so the opportunity was lost. But the fact that humanity came so close to touching a visitor from another star system is, in itself, extraordinary. Comment what you think about this. The deepest implication of 3I Atlas isn't in the data it generated, but in the question it forces us to ask. Astronomers estimate that with next-generation telescopes, such as the Legacy Survey of Space and Time, LSST, at the Vera Rubin Observatory, we could detect up to 1 interstellar object per year. The cometary activity, although unusual at great distances, can be explained by the sublimation of highly reactive volatiles like CO and CO2, which sublimate at much lower temperatures than water. And the close approach to several planets, although rare, isn't statistically impossible, just improbable. But science never completely eliminates the possibility of the unknown. It's precisely this openness to mystery that makes astronomy so powerful. The universe is full of unanswered questions, and objects like 3I Atlas remind us that we're still just beginning to explore the true scope of the cosmos. Each new interstellar visitor is a window to distant worlds, a frozen fragment of galactic history, a silent message written in ice, rock, and dust, waiting to be deciphered. If this mystery kept you hooked until here, leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter of this journey. The universe is vast, ancient, and full of secrets, and 3I Atlas, this lonely visitor from the abyss between the stars, just reminded us that we're not alone in our cosmic solitude. Not because alien civilizations are watching from afar, but because we share the galaxy with trillions of invisible worlds, each with its own history, each with its own mysteries. And as 3I Atlas and Earth, this tiny blue dot lost in the void, just witnessed something extraordinary. The moment when the unknown crossed our path and showed us that the universe still has much to say. And this is just the beginning.